The Henderson family meeting was going exactly as I expected. Dad at the head of the table, my older siblings flanking him like corporate sentries, and me, Sarah Henderson, sitting at the far end, already knowing what was coming. As we discussed the future of Henderson Properties, Dad began shuffling his papers importantly. We need to make some hard decisions about succession. My brother James, ever the eager firstborn, sat up straighter in his designer suit. My sister Rachel adjusted her pearls, a gift from Dad for making junior partner at her law firm. Both of them shot me smug looks down the mahogany conference table. I kept my expression neutral, though my hand instinctively touched the tablet in my bag. The notification that had popped up during breakfast was still waiting to be opened. Acquisition of Lakewood Heights complete. Transfer of ownership pending final signatures. Sarah, Dad's voice carried that familiar note of disappointment. While you've worked in our rental division for the past 5 years, your approach to property management hasn't aligned with our company values. Translation. I suggested modernizing our outdated systems and offering actual maintenance services to our tenants instead of ignoring their requests. Furthermore, he continued, your insistence on working remotely and your frequent business trips show a lack of commitment to our family traditions. Those business trips had built my own real estate empire, but they didn't need to know that. Yet. Therefore, the board, your mother and I, along with James and Rachel, have decided to restructure the company leadership. James will take over as CEO with Rachel handling legal affairs. And me? I asked, though I already knew the answer. We feel it's best if you pursue other opportunities, Dad said diplomatically. Perhaps something more suited to your casual approach to business. Rachel couldn't hide her smirk. We need people who understand the importance of family legacy, Sarah. Not everyone is cut out for real responsibility. I checked my watch, 10:45 a.m. Right on schedule. That's fair, I said, standing up. I should go anyway. I have a meeting with my property manager about some new acquisitions. Property manager? James scoffed. Finally renting a bigger apartment? Something like that. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, by the way, has anyone checked their mail today? Mom, who had been quietly watching the proceedings, frowned. Mail. The notices should have been delivered this morning. I'd read them carefully if I were you. I smiled. Especially the part about new ownership. What notices? Dad demanded. From your new landlord. I pulled out my tablet, opening the notification I'd been saving. Eclipse Real Estate Holdings officially completed its purchase of Lakewood Heights this morning. All 50 luxury homes, including yours. The room went silent. But we own our homes, Rachel stammered. They're not rentals. Check your deeds, I suggested. The land lease agreement your generation signed with the original developers expired last month. Eclipse acquired the land rights and, by extension, ownership of all structures on the property. Dad's face had gone pale. Eclipse. That's one of the largest private real estate companies in the country. Third largest, actually, I corrected him. Founded 8 years ago by an anonymous CEO who prefers to let their work speak for itself. James was already frantically Googling on his phone. This is impossible. Eclipse is worth billions. They handle premium properties across the country. They wouldn't bother with your neighborhood? I smiled. You're right. Usually we focus on larger acquisitions. But sometimes, I pulled out my CEO keycard from Eclipse. We make exceptions for personal reasons. The keycard dropped onto the conference table with a soft thud, my title clearly visible. Sarah Henderson, Chief Executive Officer and Founder, Eclipse Real Estate Holdings. Mom's hand flew to her throat. You own Eclipse? Among other things. I started counting off on my fingers. The office building where Rachel's law firm rents the top floor? The luxury apartment complex where James lives? Also mine. The country club where you all spend your weekends? Bought it last year. That's impossible, Dad sputtered. You've been working in our rental division. Part-time, I corrected. Just enough to keep an eye on potential acquisitions. Those business trips you mocked? Board meetings, property closings, and negotiations for a merger that will make Eclipse the largest real estate company in North America. Rachel's face had gone from smug to stunned. But your apartment, your old car. are carefully chosen to maintain my privacy. Unlike some people, I glanced pointedly at James's gold Rolex. I prefer to build wealth rather than display it. The notices, Dad said quietly. What do they say? Standard change of ownership notification. New lease terms, updated rent schedules. I paused for effect. Significant increases to reflect current market values. Increases. James's voice cracked. How much? For premium properties like yours? About triple the current land lease payments. Of course, you can always move. Though finding comparable homes might be difficult. Eclipse owns most of the luxury developments in this area. The chaos that followed was almost theatrical. Rachel, the lawyer, demanded to see the acquisition documents. James started frantically calling his real estate contacts. Mom sat frozen, still staring at my Eclipse keycard like it might disappear. This is a trick, Dad finally declared, though his voice lacked conviction. You can't possibly. I pulled out my phone, dialing my executive assistant. Linda, please send the Lakewood Heights documentation to the conference room at Henderson Properties. And have legal standing by. I believe Ms. Rachel Henderson may want to dispute the acquisition. Of course, Ms. Henderson, Linda's voice came through clearly on speaker. Should I also inform the board that you'll be late for the Morgan Stanley merger discussion? No need, I'm heading there now. Oh, and Linda, please make sure my family receives their updated lease agreements by end of day. Premium rates, no family discount. Rachel's face reddened. No family discount? We're your parents. Interesting, I replied coolly. An hour ago I wasn't family material. Amazing how perspectives change when property values are involved. My phone buzzed with another notification. I showed them the screen, a news alert announcing Eclipse's latest acquisition, Henderson Properties. Oh, did I forget to mention? I smiled as Dad grabbed for the phone. While we were having this lovely meeting, my team was finalizing the purchase of your company. Those casual business approaches you mocked? Built a company large enough to buy yours 10 times over. James jumped up. You can't do this. The board would never approve. The board already did. Remember those investment groups that bought up Henderson Properties shares last year? All Eclipse subsidiaries. We've owned controlling interest for months. I just waited for the right moment to exercise it. Mom finally found her voice. But your apartment, your old Toyota, is a penthouse taking up the entire top floor of the building, disguised under a shell company. The Toyota is armored and custom-built. It cost more than James's house. I just never felt the need to show off. Linda's voice came through again. Ms. Henderson, the documentation has been delivered. Also, Mr. James Henderson's apartment complex is due for its annual rent review. Should we proceed with market rate adjustments? Absolutely, I replied, watching James's face pale. In fact, review all properties where my family members reside or work. Ensure they're paying current market rates. You do this to your own family? Dad demanded. The same family that just spent an hour explaining why I wasn't responsible enough to be part of the business? I checked my watch again. Speaking of business, I have a merger to discuss. Unlike some people, I actually built my company instead of inheriting it. Rachel was scanning the documents that had just been delivered, her legal training failing to find any loopholes. This is ironclad, she whispered. She owns everything. Not everything, I corrected her. Just every property you all depend on. Your homes, offices, country club, even Dad's beloved boat marina. Amazing what you can acquire when people underestimate you. The reality was finally sinking in. Their comfortable lives, the homes they thought they owned, the offices they worked in, the places they socialized, all belonged to the daughter they dismissed. We can negotiate, Dad offered, his business instincts kicking in. Come to some arrangement. Like the arrangement where I wasn't family material? I picked up my tablet and keycard. I think I prefer our new arrangement, where you're all my tenants. The following weeks were a masterclass in consequences. The new lease agreements arrived as promised, thick documents detailing market rate adjustments that made James physically wince when he saw the numbers. Rachel, ever the lawyer, tried to fight it. She stormed into my real office, the penthouse suite overlooking the city, with a team of legal experts. This is corporate harassment, she declared, then stopped short at the sight of my actual workspace. The 360-degree views of the city, the state-of-the-art security, and the quiet army of executives waiting for my instructions. Corporate harassment? I smiled, gesturing for her to sit. Like when Dad gave you my project portfolio because family comes first, except I wasn't the right kind of family? That was different. We were protecting the company's interests. And now I'm protecting mine. I pulled up a holographic display of Eclipse's holdings. See these red dots? Every property your law firm represents. The blue ones? All owned by Eclipse. Interesting overlap, isn't it? She paled as she realized the implications. Her firm's biggest clients were all Eclipse properties or subsidiaries. You wouldn't suggest to your managing partners that their biggest client might prefer different legal representation? Why not? After all, isn't that what you did to me last year with the Richardson account? Her legal team looked uncomfortable. They knew what losing Eclipse's business would mean for the firm. James tried a different approach. He showed up at my penthouse the next day, all forced smiles and fraternal concern. Sis, let's be reasonable, he began, then stopped as he noticed the familiar artwork on my walls. Wait, isn't that from the Ashworth collection? You mean the private art collection you tried to buy last month to impress your board members? I gestured to the paintings. I acquired it last week, along with controlling interest in your favorite investment firm. He sank into a chair. How long have you been planning this? Since the day you and Dad moved my office to the basement because family positions are for serious business people. I showed him another document. Remember that development deal you lost last year? The mysterious buyer who outbid you? Hello, brother. Mom tried emotional manipulation next. She arrived unannounced at my office, tears ready. We're your family, she pleaded. How can you do this to us? Family. I pulled up a calendar. Like when you scheduled the family vacation during my college graduation. Or when you forgot to invite me to Rachel's engagement party because I was probably too busy with that little real estate thing? We made mistakes, but... No, Mom. You made choices. And now I'm making mine. I showed her the latest acquisition, the exclusive subdivision where she'd always dreamed of living. I bought this yesterday. You know, the neighborhood where you told Mrs. Anderson I'd never be able to afford a home because I wasn't ambitious enough? Dad was the last to break. He requested a formal meeting, probably expecting to find me in some small office. Instead, he was escorted to the top floor of Eclipse Tower, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered a perfect view of his now-diminished company headquarters. The board wants to discuss terms, he said stiffly. Your board doesn't exist anymore, I reminded him. Eclipse owns Henderson Properties now. But please continue. We could work together, he offered. Merge the companies properly. Keep it in the family. Like you kept me in the family? I pressed a button and the windows turned into screens showing years of Henderson Properties records. Every project I proposed that you shot down, Eclipse implemented them. Those casual business approaches you mocked? Tripled property values across our portfolio. I was wrong, he admitted quietly. Yes, you were. About business, about me, about everything. I showed him Eclipse's latest financial reports. Your entire company's net worth wouldn't cover our quarterly marketing budget. What do you want? He asked finally. Nothing. That's the beauty of it. I smiled. I already own everything you thought I'd never be worthy of. Your homes, your offices, your social clubs, all under the control of the daughter you said wasn't family material. The final blow came at the country club's annual gala. My family arrived to find their names missing from the member list. I'm sorry, the manager apologized, not looking sorry at all. The new owner has implemented strict membership criteria. Family connections are no longer considered valid qualifications. They watched from the parking lot as I arrived, not in my usual Toyota, but in a custom Rolls-Royce with Eclipse's logo. Don't worry, I called out as I passed them. I'm sure you can find another club. Though it might be difficult, Eclipse owns most of them in the tri-state area. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's owning every piece of the life they said you'd never have. The aftermath played out across the city's social circles like a deliciously slow-motion train wreck. The Henderson family, once the epitome of old money and social standing, found themselves in an unprecedented position, tenants in their own kingdom, answering to the daughter they dismissed. The annual charity gala, usually hosted by Mom at the country club, had to be relocated when the club's new management, my management, denied their booking request. Members only, they were told with pointed emphasis on their non-member status. Rachel's law firm partners were less than pleased to discover their largest client, Eclipse Properties, was requesting new legal representation. Perhaps, I suggested in the meeting, a firm that values merit over family connections? She was demoted within a week. James's attempt to leverage his business contacts backfired spectacularly when they realized Eclipse owned most of their properties too. Fascinating, I remarked during a board meeting. How many of your personal relationships were actually just tenant agreements? Dad's final power play was almost sad. He tried to rally the old Henderson Properties board members, only to discover they'd all been replaced during the acquisition. Their severance packages included strict non-compete clauses, standard Eclipse policy. "You've destroyed our family's legacy," he accused during an awkward elevator ride in what used to be his building. "No, Dad. I built something bigger than the legacy you thought I couldn't handle." I showed him the latest Forbes article, Eclipse CEO Sarah Henderson, how the hidden real estate queen built a $50 billion empire. The family's annual Christmas dinner, usually a showcase of their success, became an exercise in humility. They gathered in their now rented mansion, surrounded by furniture they were technically leasing from my company.